Mike Kim here. Welcome to this episode. Whether you're here for the first time or a repeat listener, glad to be with you today. Today, I want to talk about another concept that has become increasingly important to me, not just professionally, but personally. Sort of piggybacking on what I talked about in the last episode in terms of running your own race. And that is this concept of burning clean energy. When I was thinking through how I really wanted to engineer my year this year. Right, there are outcomes or results that are sometimes outside of your control. But one thing I do realize that I can control is I can control what kind of energy I burn. And what I mean by that, I'm not talking about environmental stuff. I mean, that's important. But when we think of clean energy, we think of solar panels, wind turbines, like stuff that doesn't pollute the atmosphere in order for us to get the output that we want from or energy wise, the energy output that we want, right? You burn oil, you burn gas. I live in New Jersey, right near the New Jersey Turnpike. You just see all the factories just burning all this stuff. It stinks. It's why people make fun of New Jersey. All right. Not sure if you knew this, but New Jersey is often referred to as the armpit of America. Not very flattering. We're tapped on both ends between New York City and Philadelphia, right? And I've seen a lot of pollution in my lifetime. Right? I've been around it, and this concept just hit me as I was preparing to set goals for this year and how I really wanted to engineer my life. And when I talk about burning clean energy, what I'm talking about is being mindful of what I put into me, into my mind, into my body, into my spirit, into my energetic field, into my calendar. All of this I can actually control, right? And I want to kind of take a deeper dive in this because if you're anything like me and you are by and large in charge of your own business, you are your business, you are the brand, you are the decision maker, you are the networker and the connector and the salesperson and the marketer and the content creator, and in many cases the administrator and the coach and all of those things. You got to take care of you. And leaving this concept of what you consume up to chance or an algorithm on Instagram or YouTube is really setting yourself up for failure in terms of not watching what you eat, right? We all know this is a concept. Our doctors in the medical field have talked to us about it forever. Watch what you eat. And as an entrepreneur, as someone who's running multiple businesses now at this point in my career, I'm even more mindful than ever of watching what I eat. So let me kind of take you a little bit deeper into this. And I today isn't really too much about nuts and bolts in terms of marketing and business growth, but it's philosophically about that. Because if you watch what you eat, you'll get, and you're intentional about it, you will be intentional about the outcomes, about the output, right? I'm talking about the invisible forces that fuel your daily life. What does your energy grid look like? Who are the people on that grid? What do you eat? What are the vibes that you absorb and thus create? Are you nurturing the environment so that it is energizing and uplifting to you? Right. So let me start with number one. And these are in no particular order, but just going to kind of go down the list. And I want to talk about people because that's often the first thing we talk about or think about when we think about who is a drainer in my life. My buddy Tony Grabmeyer, a fantastic entrepreneur based out in the Denver area, runs a company, $70-80 million or so, called Ship Offers. And Tony often talks about drainers versus drivers. Who are the people in your life? What are the things in your life? What are the activities, right? Drainers or drivers? I'm looking for drivers. I'm looking for people who come with their own batteries, in a sense. I'm looking for people who are going to expand me, who are going to inspire me, who are going to hold me accountable, right? Who, when I'm around them, I leave recharged. I feel better, right? But who are the drainers and drivers in your life? Right? Who are the people that you have? You've all know. I'm sure you've noticed at times there are some people who leave you feeling charged and inspired, while others drain you. Right? That's the human power grid at work. So I'm fortunate. I've got a great family. I love spending time with my mom, my sister, her kids, my brother-in-law, my father, stepfather, and everybody in the family. We're just kind of like a motley crew. We look like we're an episode of Modern Family when we get together as a family, right? And I'm very blessed. I don't have any family drama. I don't have anything like that, but I used to. I had a ton. When I was growing up. Um, when I was a kid, and I couldn't control it. And as a result of that, now I'm not going to put anyone down in my family. It is what it is, right? But I remember those years very vividly, and I can look back now at my age and see how that affected me. And there were many days I never wanted to go home. I never wanted to go home. I wanted to stay out all the time. I'd come home from school. I go immediately back out, go play basketball, go hang out with my friends, go do nothing. I just didn't want to be home. I hated being home. And it was a drainer for me. That was not a good environment for me to be in. So I spent a lot of time outside, outdoors, engrossed in hobbies. When I was a teenager, I got really into church and spent a lot of my time there. And that became eventually my main social hub, right? Sure, I played basketball from my high school and stuff like that, but it was all because home, and namely people I live with there, were drainers. It was it was pretty toxic in a lot of ways, right? And I would find that I would engross myself in stories. That's what made me fall in love with storytelling. I loved books. I loved comic books. I love the narratives in video games and TV shows. I'm still a sucker for a great immersive story, right? But now I look back on it and I realize that, wow, a lot of this activity was born out of escapism. I didn't like my world, so I just chose to live in a different one, right? And there's nothing wrong with changing your world. But I think where, for me at least personally, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. I'm just sharing some of my experiences where I've had to be careful in towing that line is to make sure that I don't cross over into just escapism and neglect the real world that I live in. So as I grew throughout the years, family grows, you grow as an adult, you go through work, like you're never going to love 100% of the people who are in your life. That's just not possible unless you want to be a hermit and live in the middle of nowhere, right? And if you're doing business, you are going to work with, and you are going to be hired by, and you are going to have to collaborate with people you normally wouldn't be friends with, right? That's just a reality of life. But I do believe that you can influence that. I believe you can be intentional about that, right? So for me, I have just a no drama rule. If you're going to come into my life and bring a ton of drama that I'm not willing to partake of, it's a hard pass, right? There are some people I have a toleration and an acceptance of drama for, and that's why I try to keep my life drama free, so that I can avail myself to those who may need me in some way or another, right? But I never want to be in a position where my life has just become such a mess that I can't be there for the ones I love or care about, or who work with me or who hire me, right? So I want you to really think through, and I know this is an age-old adage, but think through, who are the people that you spend the most time with? Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? I'm not sure if it was Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar who said that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? And I'm very aware of who those people are. Some are in person, many are virtual. And it's one of the reasons that I've engineered my life and my professional life to always be in communities that uplift me and inspire me and challenge me and hold me accountable. It's one of the reasons I'm such a big believer in mastermind groups. And I've utilized them in my own life, right? And now run them as part of my business. How do I gauge that? Do I look forward to seeing them? Are our conversations substantive? Do they uplift me? Do they teach me something? Do we do things together that are constructive other than just zoning out? I definitely went through that phase. So I'm not judging anyone who's in those phases of life where they just want to hang out, party, like just let their hair down and blow off steam. But I'm very cognizant of that more than ever. I view myself as a sponge. I no longer believe I am strong enough to just withstand any kind of environment. It's just not the way this plane of existence works, right? There have been numerous, you know, studies and recordings. You just talk nicely to a plant and it looks healthier, right? How much more us as human beings, as fields of energy, if you want to look at it that way. I want to make sure that the people in my energetic field that I can control are going to lift me up. Now, I'll share a little bit about this, even on the personal side. Like, um, you may know, like, what, 5 some odd years ago, going on 6 years now, hard to believe, I got divorced. And so, coming out of that season of life and then entering into this season where I was, for the first time in like 13 years, like I was like dating and like meeting women and going out on these dates. Um, I don't recall ever having like a horrible date, right? But I do remember 2 times I went out and, even if, um, I know I'm probably not gonna see this person again after the meal, like, it's just not jiving. I always tried to be a gentleman. I never left a date early, I swear. I will swear on my mother's grave. Like, I've never left a date early. I've never blown anybody off. I've never ghosted anybody, like, on a date. But, I remember, like, towards the latter part of me really going out and dating, I don't do much of that anymore. Um, I I had these 2 dates, and I was really frustrated after them. I was just like, "Oh gosh, what a waste of time." And I was wondering why I thought like they were. I was, like, wondering why this bothered me so much. And I realized it's because we literally didn't talk about anything substantive. Like, there was nothing interesting about our conversations. There was nothing that was, like, leading me or, presumably her, I mean, I tried, to, to see a different viewpoint of life or, like, see the world in a new way. And, like, I always remember, like, even if I knew that I wasn't gonna see this person again, didn't really have any intention of going out again, I was like, "Look, I can have a civil, nice conversation with somebody over a meal or over a drink and just be cordial about it, right?" And who knows? I might learn something, and I learned a lot through those experiences. I met people from all different walks of life who had very interesting backstories, very unique perspectives on the world that or at least those that were different from mine. And I always walked away feeling like I was expanded. I joke with my friends a lot. I'm always looking for expansive experiences, right? Just to like help me grow. And I remember being frustrated because I was like, man, that was just a solid waste of a couple of hours and some money. And man, well, that was a drain. So think about the people around you that you can control, right? You can control. I would even carry that over into who you follow on social media. Made mention of this on the last episode. Several months ago, I wiped my Instagram account clean. I unfollowed a ton of people, hundreds and hundreds of people. And it wasn't because they were bad. I was just like, I never consume this person's content. It's not clean energy for me. I'm looking at pictures of their food and, their kids. God bless their kids, but I'm not really like, that's just not adding anything to my life. Like, unless you're my sister, I don't really care about the pictures of your kids, right? I'm kidding. You know what I mean, though, right? And I was like, all of these people who I follow on my Instagram account or on other social media channels or on YouTube, like all of these people that I follow, I am saying you can have a seat in my energetic field. And I'm going to outsource what content I consume to this thing called an algorithm and let it basically pick the lottery for me. Talk about just giving away your agency and your power, right? So I just culled that, and I tell you, my energetic field is so clear as a result of that. So, hey, if you need to unfollow me, or maybe it's on a particular channel, maybe I'm not giving you good vibes on Instagram. Well, then unfollow me. It's okay. I won't be offended. I'm barely on it anyway because I'm just trying to keep my field clear, right? And I'm not slamming Instagram. I'm just saying be intentional about who you allow into your field. All right. Number two, I want to talk about what you consume, like literally physically. For me, um, I've been much more intentional the last year and a half about what I'm eating. Yes, I consume, and part of this has been fueled by my dedication to regular exercise. I hired a personal trainer. His gym is literally 55 steps from my lobby. So I have no excuse of missing workouts with him. He has a studio in the same building that I live in. So, and I did that on purpose. I never trained with him before. I never asked him if he was any good. He has a gym. I assume he's a professional. He's got credentials. And his name is Jay, and I've been training with him since September of 2002. And what I do know is that if I don't eat right the night before and the day of the workout, I have a really bad workout. I have a pissy attitude. I don't want to do it. I don't perform well. I don't push through well. Right. One time I did a workout with him and I didn't tell him, but I was absolutely 100% hungover. I was like, I can power through this. I will just power through it. And I was like, hey, I'm getting really dizzy. He's like, oh no, am I pushing you too hard? I never told him. I'll tell him, next time or something, or if he hears this podcast. But committing to that workout schedule 3 times a week with him when I'm home actually created another loop where I had to be very mindful of what I'm eating. I know exactly what I'm going to eat on days that I train with him. And even the night before, I can't stay up till 3 in the morning the night before and eat corn chips and guacamole until 3 in the morning and then wake up and be like, okay, I guess I'm ready to go. But that's just not how it works, right? And as a result, I've started cooking more. I love cooking. I really enjoy it. I don't love the cleaning part still, but I love cooking. I watch a lot of cooking shows. I watch a lot of cooking videos on YouTube. I get into like Chef Jean Pierre and Gordon Ramsay, who's a brilliant cook. I don't like how he treats people in the game shows, and in his kitchen, all of that, but he's got good footage, right? He's got good content. My favorite is Marco Pierre White, who was actually Gordon Ramsay's mentor. It's just, I've gone down the rabbit hole with all these celebrity chefs, right? And I know what I'm putting in my body. And what has happened as a result is it has given me a distaste for eating out. I can taste how much more salty the food is when I go out. I can eat, like, even in really nice restaurants, I'm like, man, they loaded this thing with sodium. No wonder people are struggling with cholesterol and all that jazz, right? And so I cook pretty clean. I'm really simple, really clean. I meal prep for the days for the weekdays, so that when I'm working, I know exactly what I'm going to eat. If I'm working out that day, I usually work out in the late afternoon, like 3, 4 o'clock with my trainer. So I know that I'm eating a pretty good and varied lunch that day. And the night before, I've got to, get a good night's sleep. And so I've become very aware, like, it's sort of like fuel. Now, well, it is fuel. When I was in college, my first car ever was a 1989 Volvo, right? A 4-door Volvo. I forget what model it was, like the GL or whatever. And this car, this car should have been illegal. My dad got it for me. It's all he could scrap together at the time, so I appreciated it. This car, the speedometer didn't work, the heater didn't work. It's a miracle this thing moved at all. And I noticed in that car, because it was old when I got it. It's 1989, sounds old right now, but it was old when I got it, right? And I was like, dude, like, I can feel the difference in the engine when I put regular gas versus premium. It was like a world of difference. So I had to put more expensive gas in this car to have it run smoother. But that's exactly what food is, right? So it's not just the people in our energetic field. It's not what just the content that we're consuming and watching and listening to. It's like what we literally put in our body. So I've been much more cognizant of that. And this year I'm just like, okay, as much as I can, I'm going to eat at home. I'm going to make my own food, or I'm going to eat home cooking, right? Whether it's me or somebody else or some of my friends, right? So that's really, really important, right? Okay, so we talked about the people in your life. Number two, the content that you consume. Number three, the food you consume. Number four, I think the environment really matters. For me, in particular, the environment really matters. I try to keep my living and workspace really clean, like legitimately clean, right? I don't want to walk back into my room after I take my dog for a walk and come back into this just cluttered, like in Korean we say like 정신이 없어. It's like just freaking chaotic and scattered, and you're like, where do I even start? And we've all been there at times, especially when we're moving. No matter how clean you are, you're like, okay, I'm going to start moving. Where do I even start? Where do I even start packing? Where do I even start cleaning up? Um, I truly believe that the environment that you're in, like the space that you inhabit, is sort of like a battery. It can drain you or it can drive you, right? It can charge you up, inspire you to work, or deplete you. Recently, I got a new MacBook, right? My other computer was from like 2017. It was really struggling to keep up with all the new apps that are coming out, the new programs. It used to take like almost 3 hours to export literally a video for YouTube on my laptop. I'm like, this is just counterproductive. And then I got frustrated at why it was taking so long, and I couldn't get to the things that I needed to do right on the computer because all of the RAM was being used up by these programs, right? So I just decided I'm going to upgrade some of my equipment, upgrade some of my gear, upgrade my workspace. When I renewed my lease and I knew I was going to stay in New Jersey another year, I invested a lot of money in getting a nice standing desk, goes up and down. It's where I am right now, sitting at it right now, recording this. I picked a place that had a lot of natural light. My windows in my main living room are basically floor to ceiling, so I get a lot of light in there. I love that. Right? I love openness and even just plants. And I don't have one in front of me now, but candles have been a big thing for me the last couple months. A friend of mine asked, like, why do you have so many candles in your house? I'm like, it's just nice to have something that's alive and moving, right? If you really, I know that sounds a little weird, but I spend pretty much most of my working hours in front of a computer screen. I'm either writing, I'm running Zoom calls, I'm recording podcasts like this. I'm in front of my computer a lot. And I think this ties back into why I started really liking cooking, because I noticed I was only using like a few of my senses, right? I clearly was not using my sense of touch or smell. And so cooking helped bring that in. But I also realized like just having plants and some movement, like actual organic movement, like candles, right? My dog in my living space was good for me. I needed life, right? Life begets life, right? So, um, introducing just elements of nature or natural light, like really, really important for me, right? To burn clean energy, to really, really be in an environment that is nourishing. So, um, all of this, right? It just super important, but I'll save this one for last. Um, like my daily habits, especially in the morning, I take mornings slow. I like slow mornings. That's just me personally. There are others who they wake up, their feet hit the ground, and they are just like off to the races. I've just never been wired that way. For the longest time, I thought I was lazy and something was wrong with me, and I need to be one of these 4 a.m. entrepreneurs or something like that. And I am not, and I am okay with it. I've come to a place of self acceptance, and I've done fine. I've done well. And so, if you're listening in or watching, and you're one of those, you're sort of like me. I just take it from one nocturnal person to another. Like, it's okay. You're fine. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with you, right? Um, but the most important thing nowadays that I do, and this has gone on for years, is to engineer my morning. Um, when I wake up, I start the day. I learned this from Linda Fogg Phillips and her brother BJ Fogg, author of the best-selling book Tiny Habits. My feet at the floor in the morning. The first thing I say is, "Today's going to be a great day." You can ask my dog; she hears it every day, right? I like, "Today's going to be a great day," and I just say that out loud. I put on a cup of coffee. I do a cold shower. Um, I know a lot of people talk about cold showers. The reason I do it, first, it feels great. I know that sounds crazy. Second, it wakes me up. Third, apparently it's really healthy for you. Fourth, this may be the most important. I start my day doing something really hard so that everything else I have to do that day doesn't seem comparably that hard. Staying under ice cold water for 3-4 minutes first thing in the morning is pretty hard, especially in the wintertime. And fifth, it's about me telling my mind that I'm in charge, not my mind, not my brain. I know that's a little heady or woo woo or whatever, but that's the way I approach it. I'm like, I'm in charge, not you. It's the same thing when I work out with my trainer. I ask him intentionally, never tell me how many reps I have to do and never tell me how many sets or what weight. You just make me pick it up. I don't want to know the agenda ahead of time. So in a year and a half of working out, I'd never known because I will start to overthink it. I will start getting my own head. Oh, it's 15 reps of this. I can pretend and act like it's really tough, but I know it's not. No, what he sees me do is what he gets. Right. So for me, I want to tell my mind, I want to tell my body that I'm in charge. I am not my mind. I am not my body. I am me. You guys are going to listen to me and I'm going to dictate what we do. So we're staying in here in this cold water for 3 minutes. We are going to that workout session and Jay's in charge for an hour and we're doing everything he says to the fullest of our ability. And he can tell when I'm cheating. I know he can, right? He can tell when I've got more in me, right? And when I don't have enough. All that matters is that I've given it my best effort. So I get up in the morning, my feet at the floor. I do what they call the Maui habit. Today's going to be a great day. That's what BJ and Linda call it. I come over, put on a cup of coffee. I hop in the shower. By the time I come out, the coffee's ready. And I go over and sit down, right? And I'll write in my 5-minute journal. It's a gratitude journal. Or if my dog really needs to go out first thing, I'll take the coffee and walk her. And we walk about 3/4 of a mile, right? After my shower. So I'm usually freezing when it's the winter. And we come back and I sit on the couch and I fill out my gratitude journal. I do a little bit of reading or I meditate. Of late, I've been doing this 15-minute priming video exercise. I follow along on video with Tony Robbins. I went to an event of his back in 2017. Very, very impactful for me. And I really like Tony. I like what he teaches. I like how he teaches it. So he is somebody that is a driver in my life, right? High-fived him a couple of times at the event. That was cool. I've never talked to him, but great stuff. It fills me up. So that's how I start my day. And when it's time, I finish the meditation and I'm ready to go to work. And I hit the ground running and I come to this desk and I get to work. I know what I'm doing that day. And that's my daily practice. I've been working more on a nighttime routine. I feel like I need to get into that as well. And I'm working my way through that. But these are 5 areas of my life that I'm being very intentional about when it comes to burning clean energy. What I consume and what I put in is going to dictate the outputs. If I'm making sure I guard my energy and drawing good boundaries around people, that's important. Number 2, if I'm being careful about what I consume on social media, on YouTube, whatever it is I listen to and read, right? I believe that what you visualize, you attain, right? So if I'm going to just watch the news all the time and just consume all this content around despair, I'm pretty sure it's going to affect me. So vice versa, I'll do the opposite, right? Being careful about what I put into my body, number 3. Number 4, being careful about my workspace and my living space. And number 5, just starting the morning off with intention. Really, really important. And this is how I plan to burn clean energy. From a business perspective, and all of us are in different stages of business. So I'm not going to sit here and I would encourage you to strongly consider discounting all the other experts out there, quote unquote gurus, who tell you only work with people you love. That's not always possible when you're depending on the stage of business that you're in. So what I always tell people is that control these 5 things so that if you have to work with somebody you don't like, or you just need to take this client because you have to, or it's like leading to some other opportunity, then you have at least tolerance from it. You're working from a good space, right? You're working from a good foundation of energy. You're not just like, oh gosh, here's another drainer coming on top of all the other drainers that I have in my life. You want to engineer your life so that you're working from a place of clean energy, so that if something comes along that you have to do that you don't love, you can still do it. You've got better tolerance for it. You're working from a better foundation. I hope that makes sense. So, I want to encourage you, adapt this whatever it means for you, but a lifestyle of burning clean energy. It's a journey. It's not a destination. It's not something that you just do once and then great. This is something that's become habitual for me. It has shaped and reshaped my mindset in only positive ways, right? And I hope this inspires you, and it just kind of gives you some clarity on some things that you can change in the weeks to come, in the months to come, and the rest of this year, no matter where you are in your business journey. Take care of you. Take care of this, right? Your vessel. You are the vessel. And make sure that what you're putting out matches what you want to output. If you want great results, put in good things, right? Makes sense. All right. That's going to do it for today's episode. I'm going to close up here. I'll be back on the next episode talking about a couple of things around self-respect as a solopreneur. It's going to be another solo episode. And this is a big topic for me, right? So, but I wanted to do these in this particular order because I meet so many people who I coach, who I meet at events, who come into some of our programs or communities, and you can just tell that they come for a business problem, but it's really something more on the inside. I want to talk a little bit more about that and some practical things around marketing and sales and positioning and branding. In terms of establishing living with self-respect, conducting your business with self-respect, charging the appropriate amount of money so that you can respect yourself, right? And respect your business, and it can do what it wants, right? Input and output, same deal. So, I hope you'll stay subscribed to the podcast or the YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. If this episode was valuable or helpful at all to you, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to me on Instagram or on LinkedIn. Those are the two main channels I'm on. If you're watching on YouTube, you can just leave a comment on the video. Shout out to Kim West, who DM'd me on Instagram. She really appreciated the last episode. Greg Summers, who left a comment on the YouTube video for last week's episode. I read these when they come in. So if you want a shout out of any kind, just share the episodes. I'll be happy to shout you out. And if you leave a handle or something, I'll throw it into the show notes of the episode and just as a way of saying thank you. So till next time, burn clean energy. Really take this to heart. I'd love to hear what resonated with you and what maybe one practical step you'll take towards burning clean energy in your life will be for you. All right. See you next time.